September meeting of the Caryville Mayor and Board of Aldermen to order. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Patrick Keefer.
Here.
Mr. Eric Jones.
Here.
Mr. Eric Smith. Ms. Beth Lawson. Mr. Dwayne Gibson. Mr. Lloyd Lawson. Mayor Stixberry.
Here. We do have a quorum. Warren, you say a prayer for us, please, sir.
Dear Heavenly Father, as we bow in your presence, we thank you once again for the opportunity you've given us for the many blessings of life and liberties we have to worship your name in spirit and truth. Now go with us, dear God. Watch over, lead, guide, and direct, protect us, dear God, in every way. Watch over those that's sick and afflicted in body, those who may be in nursing home, assisted living. Watch over our military, God, and keep them, especially those in harm's way. Watch over each and every one that's assembled here today, God, and those that the leaders of the nation and the states, and more especially here in Caryville. Give them wisdom and knowledge, God, to do the things that you would have them to do. These favors we ask in your name. Amen.
Thank you, Warren. Okay, give our few minutes look at the minutes of the August meeting. Okay. Okay. Everybody had a chance to look at the minutes? Okay, do I hear a motion we approve the minutes as presented?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second it.
Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay. Citizens input. Anybody like to address council? Lot of training back there in the back. Okay. All right, communication from the mayor. Not really a whole lot going on right now, which that's not a bad thing. That they are working on a couple things. One thing in particular, industrial property, which we'll discuss later. Working on that, and also on. Well, that was a couple things on down in there we need to talk about also, but we'll talk about on down on the agenda. All right, financial report.
For the month of August in our general fund, we have $676,926.81. Reserved for our rainy day fund is $45,000. In our special fire protection fees, we have $83,808.29. In our adjusted general fund balance, we have $548,118.52. In our State Street Aid Fund, we have $246,414.88. In our Industrial Fund, we have $868.89. In our Drug Fund, we have $18,719.78. Our revenues for the month of August 2018 is $137,396.39. our expenditures are $125,907.85, with a difference of $11,488.54.
Okay. And the reason that it wasn't a bigger difference than we'd like to assume was we had $21,605 came out in workman's comp and liability insurance. So that was a big chunk, or we've been up around 30-some. We've been up our probably $30-some thousand. So this is the time of year for our big insurances to come out, but we still come out to the good. So that's a good thing. Okay, we should be somewhere. We should be right at 15%, and that's where we are on our budget. Right at 15, right on target. Out here, we approve the financial report as presented.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. Reports to council members. Mr. Lawson.
Carroll Street Sanitation Department, the month of August and September, we picked up 51 tons of garbage, 4 tons of recycling, 21 tons of brush. They mowed throughout the city and cleaned ditches on the open circle, cutting the berms off the roads that are going to be paved, and fixed the water problem on Dogwood Road. Started cutting overhanging limbs off all on the streets, put a 100-foot tile in on Hill Lane, and cut dead trees down, and Asbury Park and dug up the stumps. That's all good.
Okay. And I want to add to it with the impending possible hurricane that I know it's the initiative that you and David took earlier to get rid of a lot of trees, problem trees that you all saw could have been a problem with a lot of high winds and stuff.
Yeah.
They've been, I know y'all cut several, had several, y'all have cut a lot and had some that was too big to handle. We haven't cut. Y'all did. So that's, that's good proactive for things. I know David's and his guys have put in a lot of tiles, cleaned out a lot of ditches.
They've done a lot of good work and a lot of preparation for the bad weather.
So, good job. Okay, Ms. Lawson, at the library.
Well, I don't have the library report, that's what I went to get. Shay was on vacation last week, so she didn't have it ready, but, so we'll read it next month, I'll read too. But
Okay,
I do have the police report.
okay, that's good. Go
Because
ahead.
Dwayne's not here.
Go ahead.
Sorry, okay. With the police report, there was 236 complaints, 10 arrests, 1 escort, 6 citations, 9,096 miles patrolled, 1 drug arrest, and 22 accidents were worked.
Okay. Mr. Jones.
Fire department for August was 1 vehicle fire, 1 tractor trailer fire, 1 fire alarm, 5 accidents, set up LZ for Lifestar 3 times for a total of 11 calls.
We busy, and the police department was busy also. Okay, do I hear a motion we approve the reports as presented?
Make the motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, likewise. Motion carries. All right, any old business?
Just what I told you when they came in, the website is set to launch October 10th, and I'll be needing to get some pictures of folks in between now and then, but I've already talked to Chief, and I'll get with Eddie, and I'll get with David, and I'll just give them a group shots in all their departments.
Okay, good. Long time coming, we need it. All right, thank you. Anything else? All right, new business. Number 1, we had council discuss AFLAC for the employees, but those representatives are unable to be here tonight, so they'll be here next month. Okay, number 2, council discuss resolution number 2018-07, amending Caryville Jacksboro Utility Commission to implement a fire hydrant maintenance fee on behalf of the town of Caryville. All right, what this is, Eric Smith brought this up when we passed the adjustment on the on the maintenance fee. Eric, we passed this, but in order for Caryville Jacksboro Utilities to do this, we have to pass this resolution requesting them to implement. What this is that a small business inside the city of Caryville with 5, or I'll just read it to you. Small businesses in 5 or less employees that request and provide proper documentation, which is Form 9941, which I guess that's income tax, I think.
Payroll tax.
Payroll tax, okay. For the last 4 quarters will be exempt from the hydrant maintenance fee, period. Okay, that's for small businesses inside the city. That's what that's for. But they have to request it and have to provide the documentation that they have 5 or less employees.
And this doesn't change any fees otherwise, this is just of the small business.
Just the small businesses inside the city. Like I said, it was passed last month, so this is another resolution that the CJUC needs to implement it. So, do I hear a motion, we pass resolution number 2018-07?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, hear a second.
I'll second it.
Second. Discussion?
It helps small businesses.
Yes, sir.
That's all the discussion I need on that.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Okay.
did they take that information to the water department, or would they bring it here to the city?
We bring it here to the city.
Somebody wants to ask me or something?
Okay. Any other discussion? Call roll, please.
Mr. Patrick Beasley?
Yes.
Mr. Eric Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Eric Smith? Ms. Beth Lawson? Mr. Lloyd Lawson?
Yes.
Mayor Stixberry?
Yes, motion carries. Okay, number 3, council discuss second reading of ordinance 2018-09, amending the annual operating budget fiscal year beginning 7/01/18 to 6/30/19. We passed that last month. This is just second reading. This is housekeeping on the budget that we do every year. So do I hear a motion, we pass ordinance on second reading, ordinance number 2018-09.
Motion made.
Second.
Any discussion?
I thought we talked about the amount that we were given to, remember we talked about the amount we were given to the festival?
Well, we've not done anything yet.
Did that have to be paid?
Yeah, you did? Okay.
We done
Okay, well, all right, well, we can do that, and next year we'll do different.
Okay,
it. Okay.
Okay, we'll do different things.
sorry.
That's
I
okay.
interrupted your-
That's okay, that's fine. Little train did jump track too. All right, call roll, please.
Mr. Patrick Beasley?
Yes.
Mr. Eric Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Beth Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Lloyd Lawson?
Yes.
Mayor Stixberry?
Yes, motion carries. Okay, number 4, council discuss Halloween date 10/20, Saturday or Wednesday. Explain this. I received a phone call from county mayor's office a couple, 3 weeks ago, asking what our opinion was on that. And I said, well, I'll have to wait till the 10th of September, our council meeting, and get the feeling of the council. Well, between then and now, I found out that it's already pretty much been set as on Saturday, the 27th. So that's kind of a moot point, I guess now. But that's, I had to put it on there. Then, like I said, between then and now, I found out it's already been, it's settled. But like I said, it's settled. That's going to be the 27th, which is on Saturday. And I guess trunk or treat at the ball field will be 5 to 8 again this year. Chief, trunk or treat, and Beth,
Yes, since you're in charge of it, what time's it gonna be, Chief?
5 to 8.
It's usually 5 days, yeah.
Okay. All right. Look for everyone to come and participate. Now, last year was a big success. I mean, huge success. I mean,
It's the best one we've had yet.
and we probably had kids all the way up till 9 o'clock, or 8 o'clock. I mean, it was packed. So, looking forward to it. Okay, number 5, council discuss surplus equipment. Anybody remember who put this on? Okay, what this is about is we have a building in the back. There was one building or 2 buildings, Dave? There's one, right? Our old surplus, or records building and police stuff. There's one back there.
There's 3. There's mine, recreation, and library, and then Brian's building.
Okay. I mean, I think everybody's got a little bit of everything in those buildings back there. And those buildings are falling into bad disrepair, a couple of them. And what I was proposing was that, I know Brian said he had a lot of excess stuff that probably, it's like old computers, monitors, this first one thing and another. I know Teresa and Laura's got a lot of excess stuff. I know the library's probably got some things. Think about, you know, we need to clean out a lot of stuff we don't need and get rid of it. I know a lot of it, like old computers, a lot of old paperwork that we don't need anymore. I'm sorry, Dave, anything else you can think of? There's all kinds of stuff back there that's accumulated over the last 20 years probably. Some of it I think some of it has to be kept from now on, but a lot of it we can get rid of. And eventually, I've talked to these folks and I've talked to Brian, is eventually maybe clean that building out as much as we can, get rid of what we can, and maybe get us a new building, all metal sides, metal roof, and try to consolidate and just clean up. So that's basically what that was for. So, and I told Brian that probably when it cools off, they can, you know, kind of get in there and kind of look around and see what they've got, and then what can be got rid of, we need to go ahead and have a good old house clean and get rid of a lot of stuff that's accumulated over all these years that we don't need. So, okay, and number 6 was council discussed Comcast franchise agreement renewal. Kathy, I think you had some issues with that you want to discuss with us?
I don't have it with me right now. I don't have it with me right now.
Okay.
One of the things I had asked is for the council, if any of you had anybody that needed service on their street that didn't have an offer. I don't know, I know that Up the Valley has a lot of problems like that. I didn't know if you guys had it or not, but this would be a good time to bring it up.
Has anybody here on council, has anybody had any issue or had heard of anyone having issues other than the price with Comcast as far as access inside the city? Anybody heard any issues?
I don't know in the city that doesn't have it, that can't.
Barwater?
They don't have it?
I don't think so.
Is it because of the railroad tracks?
I think so.
Now, I know you have it, don't you, Eric? Okay, that's across the tracks. Eddie's got it, he lives across the tracks. That would be that'd be one issue to address that, yeah, you're on the other side of the tracks, don't you? But, yeah, that would be an issue.
If Eddie has some neighborhoods that he's aware of, if he'll just call me, I can suggest to them to go out and look at it. Sometimes they can't provide it, sometimes it's just an oversight that nobody's asked them to go. It's what I've found in the past, and this is a good time to ask them.
All right.
Otherwise, I just had a few tweaks on the contract that I was going to submit back to them.
Okay. Like I said, I've not had anyone that's contacted, anybody called the city about issues with them? Anybody know of? I think everybody's pretty satisfied with them other than the price, like everybody else. But
So the council can go ahead and approve as it was submitted to us with my suggested amendments. And those are just things, business things between us and them, their procedures.
Okay. All right. Okay, do I hear a motion to that effect that we approve the Comcast franchise? Is that 5 years?
I think it is.
I thought it's been a while. For another 5 years.
I'll make a motion.
There a second?
Just so I can be educated on this, this is just their agreement that they provide service
Right.
Yes.
to,
Right, for another 5.
Right.
and we can add those streets even after we approve this if there is something they find.
They're the ones who actually have the discretion if it can be provided. But if there are any neighborhoods, now's a good time to ask them to go look at it.
If we specifically ask, they may be more likely to.
Well,
At
this
least
is the
try to
time
help
to
us out.
ask, right.
I
And,
understand.
like I said, but in the past, what I've seen is it's an oversight on their part, that an area's built up and that they would qualify,
Gotcha.
that Comcast hadn't caught it, but of course you guys would.
Gotcha. Okay, that's what I need.
Okay.
I just didn't want to go in blind on
That's
that.
fine. You did second, correct?
10 years?
Oh, 10 years?
But
Okay,
that's what I just pulled up on the email she sent us.
okay. I thought it was 5, but 10.
I think it has some, maybe a renewal in it. Does it say 10 years plus a renewal, or does it say 5 plus a renewal? I reviewed it 2-3 weeks ago.
I looked at
Term
that
of
too.
franchise shall be in effect for a period of 10 years commencing on the effective date unless renewed or lawfully terminated in accordance with the agreement.
Okay.
Okay. I said,
So
I
it
knew,
is for 10.
I
But
knew,
since they're already established, and they're the ones who has all the equipment and the lines, that type of thing.
I knew it'd been a long time since I remember this ever coming up to council. Okay, we have a motion. Did you second, Patrick? Oh, Eric did? Okay. Okay. Discussion? Call roll.
Mr. Patrick Beasley?
Yes.
Mr. Eric Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Beth Lawson? Yes. Mr. Lloyd Lawson?
Yes.
Mayor Tewksbury?
Yes. Motion carries. Number 7, council discuss Curtis Lane building permit. I think Mr. Lawson.
Yeah, I was at the planning commission meeting the other night, and that issue was brought up, and Scott was here. And did you say you talked to,
I talked to Jordan Rockwell today, who he talked to Lisa also. But it was the planning commission, of course, we brought up to, and Curtis Lane was there, present also, and expressed his concerns and extra costs that this was going to cost him as far as the licensed architect for his building. He got a price for like $18,000 on it. Then he's going to have a licensed architect, a licensed contractor construct it, which is another 25 to 30% on his building cost. And everybody in the planning commission was in agreement. It was actually, I guess the biggest question is that a code city count or a zoning requirement or a building code requirement? But evidently, according to Jordan, it really didn't matter as long as the council approved this for, Curtis Lane and the John McGee Industrial Park. But I think you spoke with Lisa, and I'm not sure if you spoke with Lisa before.
I spoke with her, but she said she's going to do some research on that and get back or try to be here tonight, but she didn't show up.
Right.
So,
I'm the one who kind of initiated this. If y'all caught it last time when he appeared in front of council, he was talking about how much more expensive it was for him to come into the city versus if he was half a mile down the road or less in the county. And so, of course, related to the deed and selling the property, when I started talking to him, I asked him some specifics. And his comparison was if he was going to do a building permit in the county, he'd just have to go to the county clerk's office and pay the money. And here, before he can ever start the process of doing a simple building. And it's a simple block building with 2 or 3 lift doors. He said that he and someone else had already put up 2 or 3 of these. That before they could even approach the city with the status of the building codes and the permit process that you have in place right now, it required him to submit plans stamped by a structural engineer. That was going to require a structural engineer for this building was going to be about $18,000. And I looked at it and started doing some research. This board has passed building codes and ordinances. And in turn, having passed that, you can always grant a waiver. And it being everything that you guys have always talked about is being very, wanting to be small business friendly. And he is somebody that is a local resident. There is a simple building that they can start construction on, and right now he is in a position that he's gonna have to incur over $20,000 just to come down here and ask for a building permit. But I started, as Scott has been out there looking at the part of the land on what you guys agreed to sell last time, so because there's a section of that park that you all have to keep a retaining pond, and so he's getting us a line for me to do a deed. And another thing that he was talking about was the licensed, a licensed contractor versus if these guys who have already built an owner. And an owner, of course, could always build their own building if you guys decide to grant that waiver and not require a licensed contractor third party. So it's actually broken down into one of the things that, as part of what Lloyd and I have been working on with the Planning Commission and this appeals board, is that whether they want to recommend waivers, and all waivers would have to come before this board. But as part of those waivers, they've also put this through the Planning Commission, and they've recommended a waiver of this, under these circumstances, for this small business person, to waive the structural engineer requirement that he could submit plans to the codes, building codes person, but they not be required to be stamped by a structural engineer. And that he could build and be the contractor over his own project. And they recommended a waiver that he doesn't have to hire a licensed contractor to build this building, that he could build it on his own and bring in his own set people. And one of the things he explained to me is, if he goes and gets a licensed contractor, they're going to use basically the same subs that are local people here to provide those services as he would get in to build his own building.
Kathy, that would fall under the zoning appeals board. It wouldn't fall under,
Right.
under the codes and ordinance appeals board.
Right, it's not under the appeals board, but it's the same process. And since Lloyd and I had been talking with, we met with the planning commission people, some of the people, and we put this appeals board, but that same procedure is available for zoning as it is for your appeals board. I adopted it of what was already there to keep some conformity. And because they hadn't done that in a while, if they'd ever done it. They haven't done it since I've been here. But that's a procedure. They can go in and make a recommendation to the board, and it's up to your all's vote to waive things that are inside of those codes. And in this case, it's for a small business person. So you're looking at whether his plans, he still has to submit plans to ask for the permit. Has to be building plans. They just don't have to be stamped by a structural engineer.
Can't we isolate that to the John McGee Industrial Park only?
I would recommend that you isolate it on a case-by-case basis. And under this circumstance, and make anybody that is asking for that go through that same process. So I wouldn't spread that out to anybody in the industrial park over there. Because you may not choose to do that on, as a building gets larger or based on how many people that are working in it.
Now, he's already, purchased the 3-acre tract. He bought the corner tract that Express Medical faces over to him. So he's already got a building plan for that also. So would he fall, and then he bought the 1 acre behind Standard Lab also, he's wanting to put a building on. So would he be applicable for his next projects as long as they're in the John McGee? Nobody in the John McGee Industrial Park, from Mike Ward, Fabright, had to meet these same requirements.
What about the one up here on the mountain?
That would be it.
Completely different.
That's a whole,
Yeah, that's how come I thought if we isolated it to the John McGee, then that
Yeah.
we wouldn't get.
But it's doing it as a case by case, would also be the same.
We've never had
code person until Lisa and Tessa's come on. So whoever had been doing codes in the past never enforced anything like that. So that's why nobody in this industrial park has ever had to do it, is because we've never had anybody to, until we hired these.
And these codes are pretty new,
Yes.
By adopting this,
to where they are now.
by adopting
They're
this
pretty,
new building
they're very,
codes.
very strict of what you have, what codes Caryville has in place right now.
But we
But like she
adopted
was
a new
saying, you
building
could go
code too,
across
though,
the street
didn't we?
where those other
We
factories.
adopted
are
a
and not
new
have
building
to-
code, is that,
That's in the county.
that changes things too, don't it?
Well, I think that some of this is in the building. What we're asking for her is to accept plans in your building code enforcement officer accept the plans without the structural engineer
It's called
signing
dredging.
it.
And none of this stuff falls under the state, right? It's all-
Right.
okay.
Right.
It's not manufactured.
So
Okay.
you're looking at a two-part waiver. You're looking at that the planning commission has recommended two waivers. One being that the building that he is proposing to build, that he be able to submit those plans for a permit without them having a stamp of a structural engineer. That's the first step.
But they had to be reviewed by they had one of those plans the other night, we talked about they had to be reviewed by somebody, right?
Yeah,
That was it.
he mentioned bringing it before the city, right?
Oh, I thought he
and-
had
and
to-
Lisa
No,
reviews
We
them.
talked about, what was, you were talking about, and you said,
No, I mentioned to Curtis, if he needs expertise as far as you all are
Right.
concerned.
yeah, I knew somebody
then-
had to look over them before we,
Yeah, and again, and, you know, like I say, it's a simple building, all we'd be talking about is the footers, you know, they would be sized by a structural engineer. That's really all standard for this size building. And what we were saying is we would just work with Curtis too to make sure that everything was in compliance. And
That building had to have sprinkler system too, right?
I do not think that, I mean, that's,
Over 25,000 square feet it's required.
yeah, but this is just 20,000 square feet.
Oh, is, I thought it was 30.
Well, no, the 20,000 was the one in front of Mike Ward's.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay, so he's all right. on
yeah,
that.
right.
He did say he'll build the same size building, right? Oh, but this one is, they had Mike Ward.
Right.
Same size.
I was thinking he said 30,000.
We're not talking about the bigger building that he was talking about doing 2 or 3 years down the road.
Okay.
We're just talking about the block building
It's like a storage type
that
building.
he,
shipping.
well, the one that he wants to put up immediately to start consolidating out of. And then if it's successful, he's talking about 2 or 3 years down the road, building a bigger building that would have a lot more employees.
He
We're
tried-
only talking about one.
Yeah, he tried to buy the pre-manufactured buildings, but they are backlogged till like March of next year. And of course, they have their own structural engineers and submit, you know, plans that you submit when you buy one of those. So that's not an option to him now. He's actually having to rent space to store his material in now.
So do we need to vote on this to give him a waiver on that?
So that he can, if you give these waivers, then he can request a building permit. At this point, right now, he can't even apply for a building permit because he's not within compliance of what he would send to the building codes person. And she would be allowed to accept his plans on the building that weren't stamped and start that process. He's still gonna have to go through planning, just like he would. But right now, he can't even come down and apply for a permit because he doesn't meet the requirements that,
So we need to give him a waiver to do that, right?
yes.
So we need to vote on it tonight.
Mhm.
but you were saying it was a two-part, and I interrupted you.
I'm sorry.
You were saying it was a two-part. We need to vote one that we give him a waiver.
I would recommend that you include on your motion, you're granting 2 waivers. You're granting a structural engineer / architect plans, that you're waiving that requirement. And number 2, that you would be waiving requirement that he can build on his own and not hire a licensed contractor.
I'm gonna make that motion.
I'm gonna, I was hoping somebody
What she
would.
just said.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Any discussion? Thank you, Kathy. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Patrick Teagley?
Yes.
Mr. Eric Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Beth Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Lloyd Lawson? Mayor Tewksbury?
Yes, motion carries. And like I said, we do try to help small business every way we can, because small business is the backbone of everything. You know, they employ more people than big business when you start adding them up, so. Any other business come before the council? If not, do I hear a motion, we adjourn? Make a motion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you all for coming.